Hi, my name is Hannah Edwards, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the importance of speaking effectively and how important it is to analyze the psychology behind listening in the first place so that you can make sure that your audience hears everything that you say and their mind doesn't drift in the middle of a presentation. So along with this, there are 3 topics I'd like to talk to you about today, and the first of these is the length of a speech, and more importantly, the length of each point the speaker is making. So the length between point to point is incredibly crucial when keeping your audience engaged in what you're trying to say. And the second point that I'll be teaching you about is the average person's attention span, which has dwindled exponentially since the advent of technology. And then the third one is definitely the psychology of persuasion, which is incredibly important, which I'll be touching on later. So with the first one, the length of each point a person is trying to make, incredibly crucial. I work in the realm of advertising, and I am paid to know how to say the best amount of stuff in the smallest amount of characters. We live in a world where it's important to be able to say what you're trying to say in 140 characters or less. Twitter made no mistake whenever they made the 140 character rule, because they knew that the quality of what you wanted to say raises whenever you are able to lower the quantity. So whenever you're able to say less, you often speak more in volumes of the content of what you're trying to say. This is a crucial point whenever trying to keep your audience engaged, because the average person's attention span does dwindle a little bit after 10 minutes, and they found that even in children, after 2 minutes, they've kind of lost their way. So future teachers, that's something really important to remember, because as a teacher, you're constantly giving lectures, you're constantly giving speeches, and it's really important to know what will keep your audience engaged so that you can give them the most amount of information without them forgetting anything. Now, the second topic is the average person's attention span. In recent research by Adweekly, it was found that the average person's attention span is less than 8 seconds. So that means when you're flipping through Facebook and you're on Instagram, whatever social media outlet you prefer, whenever you're looking through that, you give less than 8 seconds worth of your attention to each post before you swipe on, before you click, before you move on. Now, they've said that goldfish are known to have 9-second attention spans. So that's a little insulting for a human sometimes, because we have a lesser attention span than even goldfish have. And that's definitely something that is important to consider when giving a speech, because we're not giving speeches to goldfish, we're giving speeches to people. So we need to cater to that, and we need to know that we need something flashy every couple of seconds or at least every few minutes, because people will always forget what you're trying to say. Jack Malcolm said that after a 10-minute speech, he found that 50% of the content was forgotten immediately after the speech was given. So he analyzed 100 people that went to the speech, and each person had forgotten at least 50% of the content they had just learned before they even left the seminar. And then he found that the following day they had forgotten over 25%, or they had only remembered 25% of that content, which is astounding. And then he found that after a week, people had only remembered 10% of what they had learned. Now, this is important not only because it's just fascinating to know how the mind works and how people listen, but it's also really important to know that whenever you're giving a speech to someone and you kind of look across the audience and you see people nodding off and you see people dozing or looking at their cell phones, it's not always because they're trying to be rude. We've all been in classrooms where the teacher has called out an individual and said, "Put up your phone, pay attention, are you hearing what I'm trying to say?" It's not always that that student is trying to take advantage of this speech or be disrespectful to their lecturer. A lot of times it's because they don't have the mental strength and the mental agility to listen to a 40-minute lecture without checking out at least once. And the third topic that is crucial when considering how people listen to the material that you're giving them is the psychology of persuasion. And I have a printout here for you. This was Rita Kirkcaldy's formula. He said that consistency, consensus, authority, similarity, reciprocity and scarcity are incredibly important whenever you're considering how to persuade people to even trust a speaker. So consistency means that you want to give people what you've already said and what you've already done. You want to show them that everything that you're saying is the same and that nothing huge has changed, because people don't want to see a headline of a speech and then come to it and it's something completely different. And then along with that, they admire consensus. They desire to follow the lead of similar others. So if they know that they belong to a certain group of people, like teachers, like people in advertising, people like to know that others of their group is doing the same thing, and they're more likely to listen to a speaker who recognizes this and kind of caters a speech or a lecture or a briefing toward a certain group. And then next, you said authority, the desire to follow the expert. So you have to give your audience your background a little bit. You have to kind of introduce themselves to you, and that's why I'm so lucky that we did that in this course, because most of you kind of know me by now, and I know a lot of you by now. So we kind of have already made that connection through our introductory speeches. And the next, similarity, the tendency to like similar others. So, and this one goes along very well with the liking principle. So it's kind of, if I'm giving a speech to people, I want to cater to them, and I want to show them that I'm just like them, that I'm not anybody crazy, that I'm not up on this stage doing anything out of the norm. With TED Talks, a lot of the time, people, they try to just be on the same level as other people, and those are the most successful TED Talks because people get on your level, and that is crucial whenever you're trying to just build a little bit of ethos with people. Just, show them that you're just human. And then we have reciprocity, which means giving back to somebody that gave something to you. So that means that if I am giving you all of this information, I'd like some information back from you. That's why it's really important a lot to do Q&A sessions at the end of speeches and lectures and briefings, because it's just like, I gave you all this information, maybe I have a question that you can answer, and if you have a question, I can definitely give you more of that. And then the last one is scarcity. It's a desire to have things that are rare. So it's important too in giving a speech to tell people, this is only for you. I'm giving this just to you. And scarcity really goes along with everything else here, because people want to hear what you have to say if they feel like it's in a limited supply. So you have to make sure what you're saying is important to people. So the leadership of topic of just broadly speaking effectively is a key lesson for any leader to learn. Keeping an audience engaged throughout an entire presentation can be kind of difficult, but it's important to recognize that people have limitations, and it's not always their attention span is lacking, or they're not very persuaded to trust what you're saying, or that you're just droning on too long. A lot of times it's just that you need to just get on the same level with them. The psychology behind persuading an audience is definitely very important, because you do need to gain people's trust before you expect them to do anything for you. And these are all just really important things for me to keep in mind, and for us as a class to keep in mind when going forward with other presentations in the future outside of this class. So I appreciate you guys for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation on speaking effectively. Thanks.